Hey everybody, welcome. This is Broadband Deployment News. Today I'm going to be talking about the USDA ReConnect program. I'll be right back. Hey, thanks for joining me. Rick Uzzi here from Zcorum. And again, today I'm going to be talking about the USDA ReConnect program. I talked a little bit about this yesterday about the application process being opened and some of the funds that are available. I wanted to dig into that a little bit today, go into a little bit more detail. So let's talk about that. So this is the ReConnect Loan and Grant Program. It's been around for a while, but what's new is that there's now a new wave of funding that's available. So the application is open starting, I think it was November 24th, and that's going to be open up for 90 days. So the deadline, I believe, is like 11:59 on February 22nd. So you have that long to go ahead and get in applications for this. So what is it? As you can see here, it's the Broadband ReConnect program furnishes loans and grants to provide funds for the costs of construction, improvement, or acquisition of facilities and equipment needed to provide broadband service in eligible areas. The application window for the third round of funding is now open. And so what are these eligible service areas? Well, first off, I want to talk about some of the categories, actually. I talked a little bit about this yesterday, but I want to go into more detail. So basically, it's a program that provides grants and or loans. So you can see here there's a 100% grant provision of this, and this is where the $1.15 billion is. This is how it's being divvied up. So that's what's available in this next round of funding. This, as I mentioned yesterday, is all separate from the Broadband Infrastructure Act that was just recently passed. So this would be on top of funds that are going to be provided to the USDA for that. So this is something that you can apply for now. Could probably get the funds before any of the funds from the Broadband Infrastructure Act would be deployed, because there's a 180-day period where some of that, just the prior development stuff of that program has to go on. And then from there, there's going to be a notice to everybody, and then applications have to get in. So you can start your application now, and again, you have until February 22nd to get that in. So 100% grant, so $350 million of that 1.15 is available for grants. The maximum amount, as you can see here, is $25,000. However, if 100% of the areas are classified as frontier and remote area or FAR level 4, the applicant may request up to $35 million. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Minimum amount that can be requested is $100,000, and you must provide a matching contribution equal to at least 25% of the cost. So what is that they're talking about there, that FAR stuff? Where do I have that? Here it is, I believe. Yeah. So FAR level 4 program consists of, I'll read that here, consists of rural areas that are 15 minutes or more from an urban area of 2,500 to 9,999 people, 30 minutes or more from an urban area of 10,000 to 2,499, 45 minutes or more from an urban area of 25,000 to almost 50,000 people, and then 60 minutes or more from an urban area of 50,000 or more people. So this looks like the most remote areas out of these different levels that they're talking about here. So that would be your definition of FAR. So again, if 100% of the area that you're looking at is that, then you can actually request up to $35 million. So that's the max. Normally it'd be $25 million. Again, a minimum of $100,000 that you have, and you must have that 25% match. The matching contributions must be expended first, followed by grant funds, except for pre-approved application expenses. So if you're going to do any building of your broadband, got to do your match first, and then you can start using your grant funds. There's also a 100% grant for tribal governments and socially vulnerable communities. Very similar in some ways. There's just one major difference. So up to $350 million is available for those grants. Maximum amount, again, $25 million. Same with the FAR level 4. If it's FAR level, you can get up to $35 million. And again, the same minimum amount of $100,000. The difference is there's no matching fund requirement on this. So if this is a grant to a tribal government or social vulnerable community, then you have this no matching fund requirement. There's a 50% loan, 50% grant option where you're only getting, you take out a loan and then you got 50% of a grant. So $250 million is available for that. Maximum amount, $25 million for the loan and $25 million for the grant. So you can get up to $50 million, but it must be equal. So whatever you're getting, you've got to have an equal amount between the loan and the grant. And that loan portion is at the interest rate would be at the Treasury rate. And you can propose that you would use your own funds for that, so you don't need to get a loan if you want to do that, if you don't want to get a loan. All cash provided in lieu of loan funds must be expended first, followed by loan funds, and then by grant funds, except for approved application expenses. So you are going to put in some cash, let's say all of it's cash, you're expending that first. But if you're getting 25% loan, and then, or excuse me, 25% loan, 25% of your cash, you got to do your cash first, then you got to do the loan, then you got to do the grant funds, if that makes sense. 100% loan. So you can get a 100% loan. Obviously, there's less, they're tracking that less because basically they're loaning you money. You're not getting any grant funds. So that could be up to $200 million. Maximum amount in that loan application is $50 million. Minimum amount that you can spend, like the others, is $100,000. And the interest rate on that for a 100% loan would be fixed at 2%. So that's a pretty nice interest rate. Now, all of these others, you haven't basically, you're competing for these funds based on points. In this case, if you're just getting a loan, there's no competition for that. You can just apply to get a loan. And then I talked about the point system yesterday. I was going to pull that up real quick. I think I had that here. Did I have that here? Yeah, here it is. So if you're applying for something, one of the grants, something that's got a grant in it, there is this point system where, again, you're competing, and they grant you these points based on how rural the area is. So you can get 25 points, up to 25 points for a very rural area. Level of existing service, if it's completely non-existent, I'm sure that helps, 25%. The economic need of the community, so how, whether it's low income. Affordability, they want to make sure that you're providing an affordable service, so obviously you're going to have to provide documentation on all of what you're going to be providing here. Labor standards, that would be, are you using union laborers? Are you making sure that people are trained? Are you using contractors or your own employees? Those kinds of things. Tribal lands, obviously there's certain definitions for what tribal lands are, and you get points for that. Local governments, nonprofits, and cooperatives, so they're really trying in this program, but this is all kind of flowing down from President Biden's administration's outline of what they want to do with broadband, and they're trying to give this money to people that have less of a profit incentive to hopefully keep broadband affordable. So if you're a local municipality, if you're a cooperative, if you're a nonprofit, then you have 15 points that can go towards that. Now, if you are a private company and you're working in a public-private partnership, then if the public company, for example, if the municipality, let's say, that you're partnering with, if you're a phone company, you partner with them, and they put in the application, then you can count this as being a local government, nonprofit, and a cooperative kind of thing. Same thing if you're a phone company partnering with an EMC, for example. Have them submit the application, and then you can get these 15 points. Socially vulnerable communities, net neutrality, they want to make sure that you just have to commit that you're going to be providing a net neutral network, which means you are going to make sure that you're not doing any paid prioritization, that you're not slowing down certain types of services. Either one of those would be considered, I guess, degrading some services if you're doing it because maybe you provide a product like an IPTV product and you're slowing down over the top Hulu or something like that. They don't want that. They also want to make sure that you're not prioritizing somebody, that they're paying you to get prioritized service that automatically that slows other people down. Don't do that. Wholesale broadband services would be open access networks. If you're going to provide an open access network and let other people provide service over your infrastructure, that would give you 10 points. So there's a total of 175 points there through that process. So what are the service availability, eligibility requirements? So what they're shooting for here is areas that would lack sufficient access to broadband. That would mean at least 90% of the households in the proposed funded area, proposed funded service area, or PFSA, must lack sufficient access to broadband. And what they're saying there is at least 100 meg per second by 20 meg. So if you've got an area that doesn't have at least 100 by 20 meg for 90% of the population, then that is considered lacking sufficient access to broadband. You have to serve all premises in your PFSA. You must be capable of providing broadband service to every premise located in the PFSA at the time of application submission, which seems like a key phrase there, at the speed defined in the latest FOA, And that speed at the latest FOA would be 100 megabits per second symmetrical service. So they want to make sure that if you're putting in broadband service, that it would be at the 100 megabits per second symmetrical. Now, that doesn't mean you have to stop there. They just want to make sure that you're offering that. But of course, if you're offering that and if you're putting in fiber, you can easily grow beyond that with XGS-PON or 25 GS-PON as the technology grows. Probably over the same glass, you'll be able to provide faster service, so 100 megabits per second. And what's interesting about that phrase, at the time of application submission, is the way I read that is that when you submit your application, you've got a defined service area so that you don't need to worry about maybe some greenfield areas that are going to pop up later that then you have to, if you take this money, you then have to provide service to those. So it seems like it would be just areas that are currently populated. I believe that's different, the way I read the new infrastructure bill, that it's different there, that when you're getting money from the Broadband Infrastructure Act that just passed, that you're committing to a service area that you're going to have to provide service to, even with greenfield areas that pop up later, that then you need to be able to provide service to those areas as well. So it seems like here maybe it's just the existing service areas. And then it has to be in a rural area, so this is not, if you've got an urban area that's low income, that would apply, for example, for the Broadband Infrastructure Act. You could get funds for that area, but here it needs to be a rural area, not located in a city, town, or incorporated area that has a population of greater than 20,000 inhabitants, or an urbanized area contiguous and adjacent to a city or town that has a population of greater than 50,000 inhabitants. So there's definitions in here, and you saw that FAR level 4, so there's different levels that you have there as well. So again, this is the USDA, right? So I think farms, that was kind of the intent when they did this, and a lot of these rural areas are going to be kind of farm areas, not necessarily, but that's kind of the intent of this. I want to show this map too, because there is a map on the site that lists these, and I'm going to have to do some of this over here because it's pretty small on the screen that I'm looking at. But this map is on the ReConnect site, and I will link to some of this information in the video when I'm done here. But so first off, I just want to click on this. So this says eligibility non-rural areas. So when I click on that, that's going to be pulling up I'm assuming this is areas that are not eligible. It says eligibility non-rural areas, and I'm looking here and I see the Metro Atlanta area, I see Dallas, I see Chicago, Birmingham, Charlotte. So I see lots of areas that are considered urban. So I'm assuming this means that these are not eligible, because it says non-rural, and the plan is really only supposed to be for rural. So that would be my guess. So I'm going to uncheck that. And then we've got our FAR level, FAR 4, that I was talking about. And you can click on the map and you can see what those are, and you'll see that those will pop up. So these are the areas that they're identifying as that FAR 4 level. It's got some eligibility with pending applications. So it looks like there are some pending applications here in central Georgia. I see one. This is here in Oklahoma, or right around Oklahoma City. Yeah. This looks like Virginia, West Virginia. There's a tiny little area here. So you can see some pending applications. If you click on the map, we've got, what is this? This is protected broadband borrower service area. I'm not sure what that is. When I click on that, that's pulling in some very light purple colors. Not sure what that is. Yeah, it's that color right there. So I'll check that. Not sure what that is. This mentions this SAIPE, economic need of the community. So this kind of tells you what the economic needs are, and you can click on the map and see what areas would be considered qualified for that. So this really can help you when you're considering doing this, looking at your service area and what areas you can apply for. What else do we have? We've got how rural is the area? Well, we saw what was not rural. This to me doesn't help at all, because it's one big purple blob, so I don't see why that's on there. It says 100 miles from urbanized areas. Well, I can tell you right here, right where I live, this is not 100 miles from an urbanized area, so I'm not sure why they have that on the map and if that's acting the way it's supposed to. Then we've got valuation socially vulnerable, so this is great to know, because that is one of the categories, and you can see that will pop in. I'll take off that one there. So this is right there, that's the socially vulnerable population, so you can see certain service areas that would apply to. And then we've got tribal lands, and you'll see those pop in right there. And if I go ahead and expand the map, you'll see, I'm sure, whoop, go the other way. So you can see some tribal, again, right here, Oklahoma area and some other tribal areas out west that would apply. So I think this looks like a great resource if you are looking at getting into USDA and getting those funds if you haven't already done that. So hopefully this was helpful. Thanks for joining me. And if this was helpful, give me a like on the video if you would. Subscribe to our channel. I do this almost every day, if not every day. I'm talking about some things that I see in the news as far as broadband deployment news, the new Infrastructure Act, whatever it is, I'll be covering that each day. And we do have services that can help you if you need help with that. Everything from broadband deployment services to managed services after the fact, diagnostics, those kinds of things. So give us a call or send us an email if you have questions about that or would like more information. So thanks for joining me. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.